What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or as you all may know me as GameOverJesse. Here with me on the Zelda Mailbag is our co-host, Daniel. Go ahead and introduce yourself for the Zelda Mailbag, Daniel.
I am Daniel, also known as Burgerson, or King Burgerson, or Capt Burgerson, or any variation of the sort. Yes, mostly I just, lately at least, mostly just co-host this old podcasty thing. And it's fun. That's me. Also.
Alright. Well, this is the Zelda Mailbag segment for the Hylians Gamescast, our podcast where we talk about Zelda and Nintendo news. I believe this is episode 26 for April 16th. So if you have any questions you would like to have featured or answered on the show, please go to patreon.com/GameOverJesse, where you can submit your questions, as well as receive a lot of other cool prizes or rewards, however you want to call them. They're not really rewards since you're kind of paying for them, but that's how Patreon works.
That's it.
We get sent so many questions on YouTube, on Twitter, on Discord, that we can't quite answer every single question. So if you want your question guaranteed to be on the show, like the one or Ashley or any of our other amazing Patreon supporters, patreon.com/GameOverJesse guarantees it. So, Daniel, starting us off, what is our first question for this mailbag?
Okay. The question comes from Hua. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced. WHOA asks, least favorite Zelda character.
Whoa. Maybe? Whoa?
What?
Is that
whoa! Oh, maybe it is whoa. I always thought whoa had the H at the end.
Yeah.
We're gonna go with whoa!
Yeah. What?
Yes. What?
It's perfect because we're using the Waluigi thing, so it's whoa! Alright, what does he ask?
Your least favorite Zelda character.
Oh gosh.
Least favorite. Now, we always joke about hating Tingle, but he's definitely not my least favorite character.
So many people were disappointed that Tingle was not in Breath of the Wild.
But his costume is. You can be Tingle.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Worst Zelda character, or least favorite.
Least favorite. Just trying to think of someone that's like annoying, like in a game-breaking sense, like disruptive to the flow of the gameplay.
Yeah,
you know?
Because I was thinking like the Mailman and Twilight Princess, but going to Hyrule Field would feel so much less, if that makes sense, if he wasn't there. The little kid that follows you that has the boogers in his nose in Wind Waker.
Oh, that's it. It's him. He's the worst character.
When I think of Wind Waker, like memorable characters, I think of him. So I'm trying to think of like a guard that won't let you into a place. That's like, just let me in. I can walk past you. Just let me by. Like the ones in the courtyard for the Hyrule Castle.
I don't know, man. The booger kid is pretty terrible.
The guy that always... I think there's someone in Wind Waker next to the booger kid. Like around where the pigs are. Like there's a character that will run up to you and it automatically initiates a conversation.
Yes, no, that's on Windfall Island. And it's the like old guy.
Yeah, instead of you
rich.
Instead of you having to talk to him, he just
he'll run up to you.
So that is who I pick.
That's a good one. Yeah, that is super annoying because, it's the he starts out as the hobo guy. He becomes the rich guy after you complete the Forsaken Fortress the second time. And before he becomes the rich guy, while he's still out on the street, there'll be the little ding. He'll notice you. Yeah. And he'll run up, and it's just like I just like avoid him at all costs.
Him or Waluigi, or Evil Luigi, in Ocarina of Time. The evil farmer.
Ingo.
Yeah, the one that's like the character design's based off Luigi. Yeah. Ingo. I hate him because he's the only character outside of Ganon or the Gerudo that is evil.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. Or there's the Gorman brothers in Majora's Mask are both really annoying.
Yeah.
You have to like race them, and they cheat the whole time,
Yeah.
and they're just obnoxious, and they go "Wah!" like Ingo, which is just an
Like
annoying
Waluigi.
sound. Yeah, exactly. It makes the same sound.
Yeah. All right.
And it's just that's bad.
So any of the versions of Ingo, or
Yeah.
the guy that keeps interrupting you,
Or the Booger Kid.
or
Booger Kid is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Someone
wrong?
says
Next.
the beavers in Majora's Mask.
Mm,
I don't think they're annoying.
I don't think they were. I didn't find them that annoying personally, but that was me.
All right, this is my favorite one, or at least that I can see at the moment. Superlink364 from YouTube asks, "My question is, would you like to see a new game in which we go back to Termina? Perhaps the game would go more into the lore of fierce deity and the four giants."
I know
say
your answer to this already.
yes. I would. Before Breath of the Wild came out, I wanted a sequel to Twilight Princess, because both Twilight Princess, Ocarina of Time end similarly with your side companion going away, disappearing. In my head, I would think Twilight Princess Link would end up doing the same thing. I need to find a way to get my friend back, which is what Ocarina of Time Link did with Navi to go on his quest to Majora's Mask. So
Right.
Link, knowing about this other world, this other dimension, the Twilight Realm, tries to find a way to go to another dimension. But instead of going to the Twilight Realm, he ends up in Termina. So then we get to see Termina a few hundred years after Majora's Mask. And then maybe the people there, in a similar way to in Ocarina of Time, when you're an adult, everyone, well, not everyone, but some of the characters are like, hey, you remind me of that kid 7 years ago or whatever. So maybe you go to Termina, and there's suddenly a legend there of a young boy in green that helped save like everyone's problems or whatever. So you could go there, and maybe there's like an old woman who talks about a story she was told about a young boy saving her grandparents' wedding or something like that. And then, like, maybe it doesn't necessarily say it, but the people that played Majora's Mask can be like, oh, this is the granddaughter or the great-great-granddaughter of Cafe and Anju. So, like, something like that would be really cool. Like, if that happened in a game, wouldn't you, like, instantly be like, oh my god, that's this person?
Yeah. Oh, I'd geek out like crazy.
Like, just a small thing like that. Like, oh, a boy looked just like you saved my grandparents' wedding. Like, a line that simple would just...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm all over references like that. I would totally nerd out and be like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to go back to Termina because we see so many iterations of Hyrule. My first thought was, well, if we went back to Termina, it'd be boring because we've already seen that. But we see so many iterations of Hyrule anyways. So as long as they had the landmarks line up enough that it's recognizable as Termina, but change enough that it's still interesting, you know, which
like,
we already know Nintendo would probably do.
In Twilight Princess, we've seen Hyrule on a scale much larger than Ocarina of Time. It's the same place, but because it's a newer console, you can get a bigger world. So if you scale Hyrule from Ocarina of Time to what it is in Twilight Princess, if you scaled it the same way in Majora's Mask, maybe add in, instead of just having the north, the south, the east, and the west, maybe you can add in like an area to the northeast and it, like the diagonal directions.
Yeah, you know, just like what's in between these areas, you know?
Yeah, instead of it going like just from like snow to a beach. Like maybe have some in between where there's like a forest that kind of
separates them a bit. Yeah,
because like that always made me curious. Like you look at it, and then even in Breath of the Wild, it's like this mountain is super covered in snow, but 5 feet away, there's no snow to be seen.
Yeah, that was kind of one of the jarring things about So I feel conflicted on Majora's Mask's overworld because in Termina Field, everything is so close together that it makes no sense really. That there's this big snowy region, and then it's like the beach right next to it.
Yeah.
Like 10 feet away.
There's no buffer area.
Yeah, so like
I like
looking
your
at
shirt,
it, it's like,
by the way.
oh, thank you.
Yeah, the heather blue V-neck.
It's very blue. I'm wearing like all blue today, except for my my Metroid socks. So but
nice.
From a gameplay standpoint, though, I really like that it's very concise. Like, it's a very like tightly knit overworld. So there's no like areas is going in between where it's just like there's nothing to do in those areas.
Yeah.
But because it was so tightly knit, there's also not very much point to having Epona other than jumping the fences to get into Great Bay. Other than that, there's no real reason to have her, because you can just Goron roll everywhere faster without calling her. And you can get everywhere very quickly anyways, because there's so little space to travel. So I don't know, like, I feel like part of the charm would be lost by scaling the world up, but I also feel like there's a lot more possibilities that they could put into the world if they scaled it up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a bit conflicting for me because of that. But I would like to, see what else Termina has to offer. We can go back to A Link to the Past's Hyrule. We can see so many different ways that Hyrule has changed over the generations of the games, but we've only been to Termina the one time, and it's like one of the most interesting locales in the lore in the franchise, right? So they would have to really nail it to live up to Majora's Mask with the depth of the world in Majora's Mask, So yeah,
there is a lot.
Make it a good one.
Have to do. All right, take us to our next question, Mr. Daniel.
Okay.
Burgers.
Mr. Me.
Mr. Burgers.
Carol Bit asks, what is your favorite Goron?
Oh.
From what game and why? I love my Gorons. So.
I love the way they looked in Ocarina of Time, which they kind of redid in Skyward Sword.
Yep.
I can't think how they looked in Breath of the Wild.
Pretty similar to Ocarina of Time.
They looked similar, but they had their own unique characteristics. So yeah, I like that, the Breath of the Wild, Ocarina of Time style, because when you look at them, they do look very similar to the way they looked in those games. But if you look at Twilight Princess, like some of the designs in the Hyrule Historia has like volcanoes on their backs and stuff like that. Like it got too fantasy-like. So I'm not a fan of those, because you look at them and they look weird, and then you look at the old Goron in the Fire Temple.
Yeah, he has like the volcano geysers on his back and stuff. Yeah,
he always looked really weird. And then there was one that looked like him in Majora's Mask as well. Yeah, or like the old Goron. So, yeah, not a fan of
really
those.
Punched over. Yeah, I liked. I think he's seen this like a specific Goron character. I think is what Carol's asking. Your favorite Goron?
Oh,
if you had to pick one specific character.
Well, like I guess I would default to Darunia, because
Darunia,
he looks unique. Like you can look at Darunia, and he looks different enough from the other Gorons, who all look the same. So he looks unique from the normal Goron, but not in a way that just looks off-putting, like the ones in Twilight Princess. So, like Darunia. Not all of the ones in Twilight Princess looked bad either. It's just some of them looked too weird.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to go with, as far as like the Goron designs overall go, like you were saying, I think Breath of the Wild probably was the best, because it took sort of those classic designs, but expanded on it by like having them, like you said, have different characteristics, but still faithful to the design. I remember at the time that Twilight Princess first came out, I really liked how the Gorons looked, because I thought they looked really cool. But they also didn't look they looked very tribal and not very like Goron-like.
The normal Gorons, the ones that would like kind of attack you while you're trying to make your way up Death Mountain, they looked fine because they looked similar, but it's like the ones that just look weird. I don't like.
But they definitely look more threatening and imposing in Twilight Princess than in like Ocarina of Time. Whereas they look kind of like gentle giant sort of people.
Yeah, like they're made out of rocks, but they still
Yeah.
kind of look soft to touch.
Yeah,
Whereas
exactly.
in
Yeah,
Twilight Princess, they're just like rock hard.
yeah. And I didn't like the Goron nipples in Twilight Princess. They put a lot of emphasis on that in the
Yeah.
design. I don't know why. I gotta say, probably my favorite Goron character is probably Daruk. I am all about Daruk. I don't know what it is. He's like that friendly, gentle giant, but he's like super tough. But he's
Yeah.
also like your dad friend, you know?
All right.
I don't know.
Next question comes from our good friend who has been on the podcast a few times, Miss Click Gaming. Yeah, he highlighted it right there.
Yeah.
She asks from Twitch, why have we not seen the spirit of the hero represented as a female? Now, before everyone starts going crazy saying playing as a female would ruin Zelda games, we don't want to play as Linkle, we don't want to play as Zelda, we don't want to play as whoever, Aonuma is 100%, like the guy in charge of Zelda has said in interviews, he is 100% fine. Like, he wants to make a Zelda game with a female hero. It went so far that when they were working on Zelda Wii U, he was talking with Miyamoto about it. And if Miyamoto would have said yes, Breath of the Wild would have you playing as a female. But Miyamoto said no, so they just kept the standard Link. And that is actually why, like, that's what caused all of the joking about Link and Zelda Wii U during the trailer. Everyone was like, why does Link look so weird? And then Aonuma was like, well, I never specifically said that was Link. And then he kind of joked around about it being a girl. In interviews that came out later, he said that the reason he was joking around about it and stuff was because at the time, or sometime before that, he was talking to Miyamoto about you being a girl. So people saying it'll never happen, it shouldn't happen, the person who is in charge of the Zelda series wants it to happen. So chances are, since he does want it and he is in charge of it, it will likely happen within the next few games. Like, maybe that's why Triforce Heroes let you dress up like a princess. Breath of the Wild, they said they purposefully made Link look more feminine. So, yeah. But they said that way, like, if you're a male, you can see yourself represented in Link, and if you're a female, then you could still see yourself represented. To where if they made him look really like a masculine Link, then a girl playing may not be able to see themselves as Link. So within the next few years, maybe not the next few years, within the next 10 years, I imagine there is a Zelda game that at least lets you choose to play as a female. Why it hasn't happened yet? Miyamoto told Aonuma no. Miyamoto wanted to do, or Aonuma wanted to do it. The guy who's been in charge of Zelda since Majora's Mask, who was the producer on Ocarina of Time, and then he created Majora's Mask and has been in charge of all of the Zelda games since. He wants it to happen. So the people that are hating, there you go.
There you go. It's only a matter of time, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With them, like, purposefully making Link look more feminine. That way he can relate to the girls. There's the interviews where Aonuma and Miyamoto said they were a fan of Linkle's design, even though it wasn't an original Nintendo creation. So that's all of the factual stuff that I can think of. But in-game lore, would you like to answer that one? Like, why hasn't Link been a female? Like, we have Aerith. Like, what would have happened if...
Why not?
if, like, the bird in Wind Waker would have kidnapped Link instead of Aerith?
Yeah.
Then it would be Aerith setting out to save Link.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Though I think she's a little... Like, if they made her not quite as young, I think that would work better, but... That's not really the gender thing. That's more the age thing for me. I don't know. There's no real reason to not. There's no reason that they have or haven't. I think lore-wise, I want to say it's probably because Skyward Sword Link being the first Link happens to be male, and then
like
just chronologically carried forward that way.
If you look at other popular Nintendo games, like every single Pokemon game literally starts with "Are you a boy or girl?"
Yeah.
So
it's other. Yeah, that's true. So,
I've always made the example. The perfect way they could do it is like if you imagine Wind Waker. Most Zelda games have you waking up from like Ocarina of Time. He wakes up from a nightmare. Breath of the Wild, he wakes up. Skyward Sword, the bird pushes his head through the window, and then Link wakes up. Twilight Princess, he wakes up from what's his name? Darren?
Russell?
Yeah, Russell. I was thinking of your name. I don't know why. But
I don't know.
Russell wakes Link up. It's very similar to what happens in Ocarina of Time with your friend running up and yelling your name.
Oh, no, wait. It's Fado, isn't it? The farm guy, not Russell.
Oh. I was thinking
Fado.
Russell because he's the one that, like, you have that opening monologue from
Yeah.
Russell.
You have that with him, and then Fado wakes you up to go help on the old farm.
Yeah, so
Wrangle some boats.
where it always has you waking up as Link. Even in Wind Waker, Errol's the one that wakes you up while you're asleep, getting sunburnt, apparently. But anyways, the example I always had is using Wind Waker as an example, where it's Link, his sister, and the grandmother. Imagine if it zooms in on your grandmother walking through the bedroom door, and there's a bed on both sides of the room. One would be Errol's, the other would be Link. And the game, like your grandmother says, like whatever you type your name at the beginning of the game to be, your grandmother yells for you to wake up. And then as the camera closes in, like zooms in on the bed, getting the grandmother out of the view, you can select which one you want to play as, and then that's the one that wakes up.
Yep.
So
that would
like,
be a good way to do it.
It would be a very simple way to do it. Instead of deliberate, like literally starting out asking you, are you a boy or girl, like Pokemon or other games, it would just be like, it would just leave it up to you to decide.
Yeah. And see, I think also part of the thing with Link, like a lot of people's backlash about Link has to be a man sort of thing, or it's not real Zelda game. The thing you have to realize is that when they're designing Link, the way that the game developers currently view Link is that he is sort of a vessel character or an avatar character, which the player is to insert themselves in. So Link as a character doesn't matter. He has very few traits, and that was intentionally designed that way.
Aonuma actually said that as well, that Link as the character doesn't matter because you're supposed to see, like, you are the character, not Link.
So for him to be, like, for you to pick, are you going to have a female or male Link, it's inconsequential to the character because there's not really much of a character there. So maybe rewriting old games, no, but if they made a new game going forward, there's no reason in my head to not have it as an option.
Yeah, and
Just
then
simple as that.
An easy way they could explain the spirit of the hero, as Miss Click put it, which in Twilight Princess, I think Twilight Princess is maybe the first time they actually say the spirit of the hero.
Yeah, and then they bring it up in Skyward Sword as well.
Yeah. So for that, in the same way they had Link and Errol as brother and sister, they could just have it as there's twins. They were born at the same time. They both share the spirit of the hero. It's just which one are you picking? And then they could even include that in with the multiplayer game that Aonuma has been saying he wants to make for like 10 years.
Yes,
where it's
that's true.
That's an easy way to explain multiplayer. It's like, well, how are there other Links? And Triforce Heroes, they were literally just saying, hey, these are just random people that happen to look like Link. That's it.
Yeah.
So that's how they explain those people. But they could just be like, oh, well, there's twins. They both have the spirit of the hero. That makes much more sense than apparently like a distant cousin or something like in Twilight Princess. Or not Twilight Princess, but...
and Also, like, a lot of people are attached to the idea of Link as a character, but then in almost every game, he's a different character, anyways, who's just
they all have
named
different
Link
attitudes
arbitrarily. Yeah, so it's like it doesn't. It's not like it's rewriting this character that you already know and love, because they're going to be introducing him as a new character, him or her, as a new character, anyways. So it's like,
all right,
doesn't matter. Yeah. Anyway,
take us to our next question. I think that one will be the title of the video. I was thinking the first question, but the one about the female, I think we got more in depth on it than any of the other. So
bit of a buzz question, I think.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, we already did that one. Okay.